I'm one of the senior recruiters here with Enercon. On the call, we have Greg Lamoureux. He's one of the other senior recruiters that supports Enercon recruiting. Then we have Derek Holman, who's one of our power distribution engineers. And then we have Michael Smythe, who is one of our nuclear services engineering supervisor. Today, my intent is to kind of go through who Enercon is and the type of program that we have for co-ops and interns, as well as a little bit on entry-level engineers, and then go into why should Enercon be top choice of employer for all the students in colleges. I'm surprised it's not, but we'll work about that later. And we'll open it up to Q&A. We'll try to minimize that. I know it's scheduled for an hour and a half. We'll try to keep it under an hour because things are changing, times are changing, and we want to respect everybody's time. To start off with, I know we have people online, and primarily just like the classes that you may be attending, we're virtual these days, right? So to address that, I want to kick it off by saying I am fully dressed, including pants, not just shorts, and a t-shirt. So it's not only top up, it's full cover. All right, so I'm going to share my screen here, Nicole, if you don't mind. Let me, as soon as I find the right clicks here, bear with me for a few more seconds, please. I keep going in and out. Share screen. Okay, can you guys see my screen?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay, that's perfect. Exactly what I wanted to hear. Let's try this one more time. How about now? Can you guys see my screen?
Yep.
We see the full presentation mode.
That's not what you guys want to see. That was supposed to be a surprise. Oh, look, there goes another surprise. All right, let's try it this way. All right, so welcome, UTC. I'm not sure if everybody's still in session or graduated, on the verge of graduating, but Enercon is very excited to host you guys and give you a little bit more information about us. To kick things off, I want to give you a quick overview of who Enercon is. We are an engineering consulting firm based out of Kennesaw, Georgia. The company was founded back in 1983, so about 36 years old. And the company was actually founded, believe it or not, on the basis of providing staff augmentation personnel only. So we didn't do any engineering services back then. But as you fast forward to today, we've branched out and very minimal staff augmentation. We're doing a lot of projects in-house. As you can see from some of the pictures this here, we provide services to multiple different industries, including power distribution, data warehouses. I'm not going to name any names, but I'm sure you guys know where your search engines are and where you shop from. And of course, most importantly, the energy industry, which includes power generation as well as oil and gas industry as well. So about us, who we are, what we do, where we are, and the reputation that we have within the industry. So as I mentioned earlier, 36 years old, we are a 100% employee-owned company. We provide services to engineering as well as environmental services, and we're actually one of the top 100 employee-owned companies in the country. And the term employee-owned may not ring a bell to you because it's not widely known, but it is a huge benefit to all of the Enercon employees. And bear with me here for a second. It's not COVID, it was just a rough cough coming up, just so you guys know. And it's not transmitted through a video, I hope. What do? We provide design and engineering services. Majority, actually, the company was, as I mentioned, was founded providing services to constructing nuclear power plants. But fast forward to today, we provide services to power generation, power distribution, manufacturing facilities, oil and gas, you name it, we're involved in a lot of different things. We have about 29 different offices, one international in the UAE. Believe it or not, we were one of the first companies that supported the UAE government to kick off the initiative to find a place, go through licensing processes, the design process to build their first nuclear power plant, and that's coming online this year. We're known in the top 20 power companies, top 5, I would say probably top 2, top 100 design firms, and globally we're top 150, which is huge. We may be small when it comes to number of employees. We have about 1,000 employees globally, and our biggest offices are in Kennesaw, where our headquarters is based out of. We have about 350 engineers that work out of this office.
One thing I'd like to add to that, Hardy, if I could, just for a second, if you could go back one slide. And again, while he's doing that, my name's Greg Lamoureux. I'm a corporate recruiter for Enercon and work along with Hardy. I support the Nuclear Services Group, and I've supported the Power Delivery Group in the past. One of the things that I like to just share about the company, and going back to actually even the slide before this, is because we're employee owned, I think we take pride in being opportunistic in the type of business we look for. When Hurricane Irma came around, when other storms come through, we really rally the troops to look at that as a way of making money for the company, and helping the utility companies down in Florida and the other areas that needed that type of help. So, what we do can evolve over time, from the data center business, from storm duty. We always look for a way of just bolstering who we are beyond our core nuclear and power delivery pieces of really where we started and what we've been.
No, you bring up a great point. Thank you for that, Greg. And kind of piggyback off on what he was saying, some of the services that we provide, we specialize in helping the utilities, which is our bread and butter across the company, I would say, is not only generating the power, or at least helping the power generation to, operate and maintain the power plants, but we also help them actually distribute the power. So coming out of the power plant, going to transmission lines, into distribution, and of course, eventually into houses and apartments that we all live in. We also support doing the substation design, as well as, just like Greg mentioned, storm responses. So, when there was a huge storm, Irma, I believe, 2 years ago, Enercon was on the front line actually supporting Florida Power and Light in Florida, where we had a team of hundreds actually just mobilized down to the storm center, where they had the biggest hits, to actually get the power up and running again. Moving on from there, engineering and power generation. Again, it's just like I mentioned earlier, all types of power generation you can imagine, in nuclear, fossil, coal, hydro, and not only actually designing the power plants from ground up, but we help them maintain them as well as modify them. Because looking at nuclear specifically, when you really think about it, the youngest nuclear power plant in the country right now is probably 30, 35 years old. And you look at the technology and the equipment that was put into it back in the days, they're dated. They probably don't manufacture them anymore. So that's where we come in to help our clients to understand, help them make the best decision to keep the one power plant efficiently running, and more importantly, safely running. Environmental services, of course, when you combine both the power transmission, distribution, and power generation, we help them go through the entire process, make sure the plants and the other facilities are in regulatory compliance, make sure we help them with any kind of site studies and servicing, and make sure they're compliant in laws, regulations rather. We also help our clients with pipeline integrity in terms of distribution, whether it be natural gas or oil, from point A to point B. And of course, if they ever decide to close the plant, we help them with remediation and cleanup once the facility is closed.
Before we move on from that slide, Hardy, I wanted to ask Derek or Michael if there's anything they wanted to add to that. If not, that's fine. I just want to give them the opportunity in case.
I will add one thing. We're also starting to get into like cogeneration, so that kind of crosses between the generation and the specific engineering. So that's more industry based, but that's one thing I could think of.
No, and Derek, correct me if I'm wrong here. I'm no engineer, but cogeneration, you mean combined cycles, correct?
Yeah, that kind of thing. If a plant is like, generating, if they're, they can like redesign their system to have, so they're losing less energy essentially. They can use their heat for something else. Another part of the factory, they can take steam and put it to another part of the factory, things like that, as well as combined cycle. Sure.
Thank you. Michael, I'm sorry, I cut you off a little bit there.
I just wanted to add about, finding solutions to our clients' problems. That's our core business, is problem solving, creative solutions to save our clients money, and in the process, growing each other's business. So the idea is to help them out and to help ourselves out along the way.
Thank you for the contribution there. And throughout the presentation here, guys, if anybody on the call has any questions, please do not hesitate to stop us and ask. But of course, we'll have a Q&A session at the end as well. But moving on from services, one thing I want to emphasize on the fact that going back to what I mentioned earlier in the call, we are a 100% employee-owned company. We're a consulting services. We don't necessarily sell a product. What we sell is expertise that our engineers within the company that bring to our clients' table. So at the end of the day, all of our employees, our talent that we have on board becomes the most valuable asset that we have across the organization. And to add to that, we become 100% employee-owned company, which just is icing on the cake. So we value our talent across the board, regardless of them being an engineer, being an administrative staff and human resources, or anywhere else. If you're working for Enercon, you can rest be assured that you are being treated the way a top-notch employee will be. So why should you intern with Enercon or co-op, or for that matter, if you're just graduating, why should you be working for it? Multiple reasons, right? We have many growth opportunities. I can probably speak to this personally. I've been with the company for 8 years, and I've seen talent that have come out of college and have worked their way through management and become part of the leadership team multiple different occasions. The type of work that we do is absolutely rewarding. Just imagine the fact that if you were to live in Florida or Georgia or Tennessee for that matter, a storm comes in and your power goes out. You're out of power. I mean, power is so essential these days, right? I mean, we're using it right now. And if it goes out, our clients turn to us and they ask, like, okay, how do we get this back on? What do we need to do to get our customers the power immediately? And that's where we come in, and that's where our expertise and our talent comes in to find solutions for them. We have great locations, 29 offices across the country, one including overseas if you want to go there. But we try to major our hubs near our biggest clients, Chattanooga being one of our great offices that supports primarily TVA, as you may have heard of. And at the end of the day, the company wants to invest back into their employees. That kind of goes back to employee-owned. We can go into the details of it if you like, but it's the long-term financial goals for the employees that the company has to put in place to actually help them financially succeed once they stop working down the road.
I want to chime in on the rewarding work that we do. So I work in the nuclear services group. So I work on the nuclear power plants, and we are involved with organizations such as the North American Young Generation in Nuclear, which is an advocacy group for the nuclear industry. And that speaks to me from a climate change perspective. I believe that nuclear energy as a zero carbon emission industry has a long-term role in affecting climate change and helping climate change. So that's where I find that rewarding, is that I feel like I'm helping to do my part to make a better planet.
And we thank you for that, Michael. And Derek, of course. For those on the call. All right, so moving on. The other benefits that we have now, outside of doing the rewarding work that Michael just spoke about, ESOP, Employee Stock Ownership Program, is a long-term financial incentive that the company has put in place for the employees. Gain share, essentially, is what I like to call a cash-in-hand bonuses program that we have pending company's performance for the year that gets paid out the following year as far as how well the company does. Not necessarily performance-based, but having all the employee owners contributing to the company, trying to make them better or making the company better. And one of the recent benefits that the company added about 2 years ago, I would say, is alternate work schedule. It is phenomenal. Essentially, the way it works, you work, instead of, granted, slightly longer hours, instead of 8 hours, 5 days a week, You work Monday through Thursday, 9 hours, Friday, 8 hours, and you get every other Friday off. So essentially, you're adding 26 days off, quote unquote, paid out of the year. So what
Marty,
is,
I wanted to add one thing, if you can go back a slide. Sorry to keep making
Yeah.
you back. But one of the things that that I like to let people know is when we interview a candidate for a full-time position or really for any position, but primarily for full-time roles, I think it's our responsibility as recruiters and as employees to let people know an insight as to really what it's like to work for the organization and to what the total compensation could look like. From an ESOP perspective, it is stock. The gain share is cash in hand, and a lot of that's dependent on company performance. But again, if we all pull together as a team and we work toward the same goals, we're able to do better in the long run from an ESOP and gain share perspective, which ultimately goes into our pockets. Not to be long-winded, but just to let you know too, I think that when we all have that goal, we have a tendency to pull together on projects. And when there's difficulties, it's heck of a lot better to pull together than to pull apart. So communication, sharing the responsibility of getting good things done, doing that well, all really benefits us in the long run to make more money. And I just wanted to add in, because it's hard from your perspective as students to understand really what that all looks like and why it's done. It's done to really keep us cohesive and keep us strong and to do better financially as an organization and individually.
no, very good points there, Greg. Because again, adding on to what you just said, as students, you may not recognize it or realize that how much value it could add until you get in-depth explanation of what ESOP is or gain share is, or how much value it could add having every other Friday off. Going to school 5 days a week could having every other Friday off could certainly add more value to it on a work-life balance perspective. So what is it really like to work at Enercon? It's fun. I speak from 8 years of perspective. It's great. The team that I work with is phenomenal, and it's very, very challenging and of course rewarding as well. To kind of add to it, how do we have the fun, right? It's definitely fast paced. We always have clients that want to get things done immediately. And of course, respectively, I understand that as well, because if you're running a business, if you're running a utility or power plant, in our case rather, is they want to make sure all their customers are happy. And that's where we come in and we gain the respect and gain the trust of our clients of, okay, if there's an issue, I need to go to Enercon and make it happen. Help out when we can. That's one of the huge points, actually. I was not just helping our clients. I can speak to this for across the company. There has not been a moment where I can walk into somebody's office or cubicle and ask them for help, and they certainly will, and they do so as well. Michael can probably attest to this. I called him Thursday saying, "Hey, Michael, can you help out with this?" And next thing you know, he's on the call with us, kind of chiming in from his perspective as well. We get involved with multiple organizations. We're, being part of a company, the way I like to describe it, is not many people would think, just because of the fact that when you flip the switch, when you walk into your room, you don't realize where it's coming from, but there's an entire organization that actually helps it make that power come into the house and make that electricity transfer into the room that you're in, and we support that. Enercon family, huge, very, very, very huge. Our Enercon is part of my second family, as I like to call it. We're very family oriented. We bond with each other. We want to talk about, we want to understand what they're going through, and just kind of have a good understanding of who we're working with. So essentially, at the end of the day, we do become a family, because when you really think about it, you're going to be spending 30 of your life with them, as well as your home family, right? We're huge, giving back to the community. We'll talk about that in just a second here. but we certainly have initiatives across all of our offices, not just here at our corporate office, where we take the initiative to provide support back to the community that we serve as well. And so what does it
So
look
do you
like?
want to, I mean, do you want me to speak to those a little bit there? The previous slide?
Yeah. We have a different slide on, but yeah, if you can chime in on it, that'd be great.
Sure. So it's kind of a multi, purpose slide that we got here. The concept of, what's life at Enercon like, and then what do you do and make fun with it. And what I'll chime in here about is that it's a kind of a communal effort. Everyone works together on projects. So there's a collaborative atmosphere that really is unparalleled to the jobs that I've had. I think Enercon does a lot of the things well to form a collaborative environment. Also, because it's project-based, you have starting and end points to your tasks that you do, so it's not just one continual roll process every day. You solve problems, you get on projects that are either schedule challenge or budget challenge, and you have a goal that you strive as a team to get to. And then we go and we have, you see here a couple of photos, we've gone rock climbing, giving back to the community. That was us participating in Habitat for Humanity build we do every summer for a couple of different weekends a year. And it's all volunteer. If you don't want to get a part of that, you don't have to, but there are opportunities. We do happy hours. We have organizations that do travel. So there's a lot of ways to get involved with your coworkers, and I get a lot of friends from it. So it's a great place to have a diverse atmosphere.
Nope, you bring up great points. Thank you for that, Michael. And if I may piggyback off of that, is our engineers aren't just engineers doing one task over time, right? So they're not hired to design one product over and over and over again. They could be working on project that's different, completely different that they just worked on 2 weeks ago or perhaps 2 months ago. So the diversification that our engineers get, or at least gain the experience from, is huge. Derek, Michael, would you agree to that?
Yep.
Absolutely.
One thing I'll add before we actually, it sort of takes away just a smidge from the next slide, but I think what Michael said is very good, and it really talks about setting projects and people up for success. As students in the academic environment, you want to learn how to, you want to grow, you want to learn, you want to be able to apply that knowledge. And when this slide was being developed, we were trying to think of really what is an internship, what is a co-op about? And it's really just about what it says there, applying knowledge you have and have fun doing it. I think we do have a lot of fun in a very busy and important environment, but it's really about setting everyone up for success, and it goes back to the ESOP and the gain share about pulling together and really doing good things. I've worked for companies where people don't pull together, where there are challenges and then there's standoffs and just bad things. And I think we do a very good job of not having those things happen.
Yeah, that's a good segue into our next slide, Greg. Thank you for that. How do we make our engineers great, right? How do we make it fun for them? We provide tremendous amount of training. Our learning management system has thousands of different knowledge transfer as well as training for not only their personal development, but actually to understand the projects that they may be working on, or just understanding a topic that they're very interested in. We provide a tremendous mentoring program as well. One of the things that we're kicking off here is what we call a buddy program. All of our new hires that we get come out of fall and spring college hiring fairs is we assign a buddy to them just to make sure they feel comfortable knowing who they're going to be, one, working for, two, they actually feel comfortable to have somebody that they can relate to, as well as understand the type of work that they're going to be doing and be able to answer any questions that they may have, or at least figure out who they need to go to get the answers that they may not be able to answer. And feedback is huge as well. Matter of fact, we're going through the phase right now. Every year, we go through what we call performance review process. It takes a couple of months, but we collect feedback from all of the people that they may have touched in terms of whether it be project related, direct supervision, or it's just to get a better understanding of how the person is performing. And if there's any lack, we certainly provide the feedback instantaneously, or towards when we do the performance review, saying, hey, look, you're doing great. Technically, you're awesome, but here's where we could use some improvement, or vice versa. You are phenomenal. Can you help others within the organization as well? So feedback is huge with Enercon. So
I want to chime in with one thing there. You kind of hinted at it, but you are not thrown in the deep end with anything that you do at Enercon. There's a saying that there's never done before, because everything we do is something that we're already an expert at, or you have experts around you that are expert at solving problems that are new. So the bottom line is, for the new hires coming in, it's an opportunity to be under a safety net of some people that are trained and paid to train you, and it's their job to grow you as an engineer or as a professional. So it's a really safe space to be in, and you're on realms that you can grow as much as you want to.
absolutely, I could not agree more with you on that, Michael. So on that note, let's take a little closer look as far as how our internship and co-op, as well as new hire, that we're not emphasizing too much on that, but how the program is set up, right? So you may laugh at this, but we have two programs for interns and college hires. Well, they're both titled IHOP, one, Interns Hire Onboarding Program, as well as we have what we call CHOP, College Hire Onboarding Program. Essentially, it's a program where all the new hires, regardless of the position, whether it be intern or new hires, they have an onboarding session where they go through to understand just the fundamentals of how Enercon operates and what the rules and regulations may be applied to their role. Pair them up with mentors as well as buddy. And of course, most importantly, we do have breakfast that's associated with both our programs. For interns and co-ops, more specifically, we give them the opportunity to do a presentation to the executive level. That includes the VPs and the chief operating officers, to help them understand, or at least let them know what they've learned by attending the internships or co-ops. And we also started doing field trips. Obviously, we support the power generation, so we've actually gone on, I want to say, at least 5 or 6 different trips with the interns and co-ops to a different nuclear plant or combined cogeneration plant, or just to a site, just to help them see the real world projects in terms of what they're supporting and how they're adding value to our clients. Duration. So I'll quickly touch on this. For co-ops more specifically, we're hoping to get 10 co-ops where there'll be a full 40-hour work week, and then of course return them back to school, then come back during the summer, and so on and so forth. But anytime we have co-ops and interns, we do anticipate for them to work full 40 hours a week in a professional consulting environment versus the environment that you don't want to work in, simply put. So how does it work? Essentially, you go to our website, you apply, put in a plan together, and be able to commit your full dedication for 8, maybe upwards of 12 weeks during the summertime frame. And for co-ops more specifically, they have to take it back to depending on the college requirements. But for interns, we provide them full evaluation from their direct supervisor saying, okay, here's what you did, here's what you could have done, and here's where you need to improve. So I'm going to hand this over to Michael. That's him, if you have not recognized it yet. But again, to kind of reintroduce him, he's one of our supervisors. He oversees the mechanical engineering division for one of our client services group.
So yeah, I just wanted to share a couple of photos of what life is like, in business, and then what we do outside of the 4 walls a little bit. So this is actually of a unit building. There's no radiation up there. The radiation doesn't go outside of that building, but inside the building is a nuclear reactor. You see I'm standing on top of one. There's a second one down in the background, and then if you look in the really far background, the city of Miami, you'll see about 50 miles away. So it's just I just wanted to show that we do some really cool stuff. We get to go to some really cool places. The project I was here for, you see in the background, there's a ramp over there, or a staircase. We were working on what's called a plant vent stack. Basically, it's a big chimney, and we were modifying that, and we got to take some cool pictures inside of a pretty cool scene.
Michael, real quick, what plant is this?
Good. That's Turkey Point.
Turkey Point, based out of Homestead, Florida.
That's right.
If anybody's curious. I'm gonna jump on to the next picture.
So one of the cool things we do is we get to, so this is taken as a part of the North American Young Generation in Nuclear, NAYG. What we sometimes take trips to Washington, D.C., and we go and talk to congressmen and their aides about what role nuclear plays in the energy environment, what role it plays in fighting climate change, and just being general advocates for the industry. You see the one button there, we've got the image a little bit flipped, but it says, ask me about nuclear energy. And you put these buttons on, they're at the conference we were at, you put the button on and people will walk up and kind of say, hey, what's going on with that pin? What nuclear energy? And it's just an opportunity to kind of start a conversation and advocate for why we think it's a great part of the energy mix. Finally, I'm sure many will recognize the background here. Another conference we attended, we took a part of the art museum there. There was a conference that we had a happy hour there at the museum. So we got to overlook the river for a little bit, got to have some cocktails and hors d'oeuvres, and got together as a group as a part of the conference we are for there in Chattanooga. So just an example of we do some cool stuff. Some of it's hard and work and play, but we balance them pretty equally, and we have a good time with it.
And I promise you, these pictures were not asked to be posed. They're real life pictures, just for the record.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to get Derek involved here. He works for our power distribution, or power delivery as we call it. Derek?
Alrighty. So you actually touched on it earlier, but a lot of people don't really know, they just flip the light switch and they don't really put it together where it came from. So I like this picture. Enercon pretty much does every step here. So, we have groups that deal with plants about how the electricity is generated. I deal with the power delivery side, specifically distribution, but I'll touch a little bit on, transmission is taking it from the plants, on these giant towers that you see, 500 kilovolts, stuff like that. And then what I do is from the substation down, so it can serve residential customers, industrial customers, commercial customers. So that's good on that slide. So what we kind of do in distribution engineering, it's also kind of like what Hardy said. You shift projects. A lot of what we're doing right now is working on the overhead design. We also do underground work. So a lot of the grid is pretty aging. I don't know if you've ever looked at poles out around the Chattanooga area. I'm from here. I went to UTC Go Mox. We have a lot of really old distribution lines here. So a lot of different companies are asking us to come in and replace them with new technology, new equipment, new poles. And that's specifically what I do. We just design new grid poles for distribution systems, but we do a lot. We can work on smart grid stuff. Chattanooga has a really good smart grid system. Usually the power doesn't stay out long here, although we did have some pretty bad storms these past months. We work on kind of automating the network. There's a lot of, like fiber net and fiber optic planning and things that go along with the smart network that we do. Already also touched on the storm response. And so if there's a hurricane coming, we can be out the door and like in Florida right after it passes and start doing surveys and assessments to see where the damage is. That's a pretty big help to both us and the power companies, because they just need a pretty substantial amount of people to assess all the damage. And we do the full process. So I just got finished working on permitting for my design. So from the beginning of the design to the end, we hand over a completed product to utility companies. And that includes even going out and taking pictures and surveying in the beginning, as you can see in this picture. I'm not sure who that is, but yeah, we do the full process. That's about all I have.
No, thank you for that, Derek. And actually kind of adding a little bit more to what you just talked about. Florida obviously gets a lot of storms, a lot of hurricanes. One of the bigger projects that Enercon is currently working on is helping the Florida utilities take their overhead distribution lines and convert them into underground power lines, primarily because, when you have distribution poles like the one you see in the picture here, if there's wind gusts coming through, it's likely to go down. But if the distribution lines are underground, it's less likely that the customers or yourself, if you're in Florida, to lose power. So that's one of the initiatives that Enercon is actually helping the Florida utilities to go through as well. So in short, Enercon is a great place to work. We support real world challenges. We help all of our employees learn new challenges in terms of working on different projects, grow professionally as well as personally, and most importantly, gain industry knowledge. When you really think about it, when you're working in power generation, you won't hear much about it, but the fact that the power is very, very critical to our essential needs, especially these days as well. And we help our clients actually make sure the power doesn't go out and your laptops don't turn off. So with that being said, I'm going to turn the floor over to participants and see if there are any questions, perhaps concerns, or anything that we can answer that we may not have covered during our presentation here. All right, I didn't know we were that thorough, which is
Looks
good.
like we have, Nicole, how many people did we have join? Looks like Rahul and Pablo and maybe Hassan and Bradley.
Yes, we actually have quite a few more in the session right now. Let's see, Aaron is in here as well. We've had quite a few kind of in and out throughout you guys presenting. A normal question that typically gets asked by the students is, are you allowed to disclose kind of what the pay range is like for interns or co-ops? And then also, do you have any suggestions on what you're looking for when students submit their resume or cover letter, or just any tips for them to take during the hiring process?
Yep, good questions to start us off with. As far as the pay range goes, I'll be honest with you, Nicole, it depends on the individual, right? It could vary. Not all the interns that we bring in will have same, just depending on the experience that they've gained previously or what they're doing now. As far as what do we look for as a recruiter, the type of skill sets that we look for is directly applicable to our industry in terms of if you're a civil engineer. We do civil engineering work, but it's more related to structural engineering. So depending on the classes that they've taken, and most importantly, how well they're doing in the classes. Electrical engineering it is, how much power related classes, courses, or interests that they personally have. And of course, Michael, you could probably speak a little bit more to this when it comes to mechanical. Is again, going back to for internships and co-ops, just the type of courses that they're taking and what they're interested in.
So yeah, a couple things to highlight there. If I'm hiring to the endpoint, a full-time job outside of college, you really want to see internships. It's great that you're getting involved with sessions like this to find internships and co-ops. So when I'm hiring a co-op, see as applicable coursework. If I'm mechanical engineering, so I want to see you're doing your fluids work. If you're early in your college process, you're doing your statics, your calculuses, all in the stepping stone. And I want to see some either community work or some organizations inside a campus that shows that you are a little more diverse as a student. And then I'm going to want to see in the interview, or I'm talking in person, that you want to see some personality. We have a little bit of a role that is client facing. You want to find people that are diverse in nature and can talk to people. We don't want someone that's just going to stick their head in the book and not be able to interface with the client. So we need to have a little bit of diverse skill set where you're doing your classwork, you're still getting involved in the community, but you're also able to hold a good conversation. And so those are the kind of things that I'm looking for when I'm hiring.
Thank you for that information. And then another question I have, has COVID affected or will it continue to affect like the way you're hiring? Are you guys conducting virtual interviews at this time? Do you plan to still have co-ops and interns for the summer, or are you waiting until fall? Just kind of questions like that, because I know every company is being affected differently. And so if you could
especially
go a little
regarding
further
the
into that,
summer
that'd be great.
internship. Yeah, especially regarding the summer internship process, because we're in between the confusion, and we submitted our resumes to the stall in the career fair, which was conducted in the March, and we haven't got any feedback, something like we are looking on to it, or we are left in between the space. So it's like, are you guys hiring or not? We don't know, and we don't know how to approach you. Even though we just log into our website, but there is nothing says like you have summer internships. So can you be specific on that?
And I can, if I'm not muted, hang on.
I can hear
Okay,
you.
good, I'm not muted. I can comment on that. So we are moving forward with all internships for the summer and really an aggressive hiring schedule. We have many people actually starting on the 1st of June, going into a 3-day training for internships and as well as full-time hires. So at a high level, we don't really see any actual slowdown at this point. This session on Monday is going to have close to, what is it, Hardy? Close to 90 people in it.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a very aggressive hiring schedule and we aren't seeing any slowdown in short. So we're fortunate because of the industry that we're in. I think all 4 of us here on this call from our side would nod our heads saying we're very fortunate in this, and because we are an essential business, I mean, we keep the lights on. So we're very pleased and happy with that.
Yep, and if I may add a little bit more to that, to be specific, we have filled all of our summer internship positions, but we still have openings for our fall co-ops as well as internship. And if you'd like, you can certainly reach out to me directly just to make sure, because we try to circle back with every candidate that we talk to, with specific feedback, or at least give them an update as far as where things are. So my contact information is not on here, but it's hpatel@enercon.com. I would highly encourage you to reach out to me so I can give you more specific feedback as far as where things are.
I have a question.
Please.
My name is Erin Watson. Currently, I have an internship with TVA.
Mhm.
I saw some pictures there, maybe from Bellefonte, look like. So I will be graduating next spring, but my current internship should last me until then. So my question really is, do you guys have any summer internships or like temporary positions for recent graduates to see like a best fit kind of opportunity?
That's a good question, Aaron. Thank you. We're very flexible, right? You mentioned you're graduating next spring. A lot of our interns that we bring on during the summer timeframe, they work through the fall on a part-time basis. So during the summer, of course, they'll commit 40 hours a week. And as their internship comes to an end, they go back to college, they commit anywhere from 10 to 15, maybe upwards of 20 hours a week. So to answer your question in short, yes, Enercon is flexible for the right talent.
Thank you.
Any more questions?
I have one. We are in the transition of learning if we're going to be back on campus for the fall, like as far as faculty staff. And we normally have a college fair in the during the first week of November. Hopefully someone from your company can attend that if we still are able to host it on campus. Also, I don't know if you guys have ever done this before, but we have lunch and learns with companies that you could do something similar to what you did today, but you'd be on campus if you're interested in setting something like that up, because we'd love to have you there. And those are usually very highly attended by our students because they're in the College of Engineering and Computer Science building. So I just kind of wanted to throw those two things out there in case you're interested. And this was great. I'm not from Chattanooga, so I've learned a lot about your company, and thank you guys for taking time out of your day to share all this information with our students. I'm so glad you're still hiring. We'll definitely make sure to relay this to our academic advisors and our department heads as well, so that they can pass it along to students. And I did put your email in the chat if anybody needs to see that, the hpatel@enercon.com if you need to reach out to him directly. Yes, go ahead. So sorry.
Yeah, Hardy, do we have the contact information to get on that, to do a lunch and learn in the fall? I think that would be great. I know we have people there that would probably like to take part in that.
Yeah, no, I was going to say that we would definitely take you up on that opportunity. Nicole, I know you're in contact with Joya, and she's the one who facilitates in terms of setting everything up, whether it be virtual or on campus. So you're definitely in contact with the right person, and yes, we will take you up on that.
Okay, great. The students, we will advertise it a little bit ahead of time, kind of similar to this. And then they come in as they can, like throughout classes, but they're usually great. And similar setup, like you'll present for a little bit, and then we have Q&A at the end. And then we encourage students to actually bring a copy of their resume with them, just so they can turn it in while they're there. And let's see here.
Good.
And